Hello and welcome to Unbox The podcast that helps you live your best life. I'm your host, Sahar Huneidi Palmer, and today we're going to explore self-growth and empowerment. I'd like to talk about a topic that is often overlooked, and it's about the pitfalls of seeking advice from those closest to us. Have you ever sought an advice and you live to regret it? Turning to friends and family for guidance is natural. They know us intimately, we've shared experiences, memories, life journey together, and somehow that legitimizes them as part of our lives and kind of implies that we should trust their advice. But I remember a time about 32 years ago when I truly needed an advice, life guidance, and everyone around me that is, offered it, but it didn't make me feel any better. It didn't make me or give me an incentive to kind of act on it. And I thought, no, they're not talking about me, they're talking about themselves. This applies to them more than it applies to me. So often, other people's advice can not really be right for us. Why? Firstly, our loved ones come with their own biases. Their biases are shaped by their unique understanding of similar life's experiences. So just because we shared memories and times together or we went through the same things, it doesn't mean that as unique individuals, we processed and understood these experiences, or indeed that we have grown or matured because of them. So their counsel, although well-meaning, may not offer us an objective point of view that is appropriate for who we are at that time. Also, keep in mind that everyone's level of awareness differs. While we hold our loved ones in high regard, their personal growth journey may not match or even surpass our own. So their guidance may be limited by their own perspective of life. But what about our intuition? I often recall my dad's wisdom reminding me to listen to my heart. When I was a child, there was a very famous toy store in the country where I grew up. And my dad never said no, whatever we asked him. But very often his answer would be, عند انشراح صدري. When I was a child, I didn't understand what that meant. And I took it as a very ominous occasion. And as I grew up, I realized that what this literally means is when my heart is open. So he never said no, but he said, whenever I feel like it's the right time, then we'll do it. And I really laughed, but it made an impression on me that when my heart feels open and relaxed, then it's got to be the right thing. Of course, a few years ago, heart math became really popular. And this is because scientists have realized that the heart has more neural connection than our brain does. So for me, this is intuition. When your heart center is your inner compass, it can really guide you in an unbiased way when you're tuned to it. Basically, when an advice resonates, you feel aligned with your own truth. You feel relaxed. You feel that your heart is open, and it's worth considering whatever proposal or advice that you're given. The heart center is where our ego-based personality meets our spiritual, multi-dimensional self. I often talk about the complexity of life because we are complex human beings. We have a physical body, we have an emotional dimension, we have a mental or belief system dimension, and finally we have to deal with the consequences of the actions that we make. We have to hold ourselves accountable. And if we don't, then, if you like, our self-growth is stunted. And those we seek their advice, maybe no matter how nice they are and wise they are, their self-growth may be stunted because they don't process the same things that they go through in life in the same way that we do. The heart is a wise source. For me, gut feeling or an instinct is very different from intuition. Intuition for me comes from our inner heart of heart, if you like, from the heart center, whereas the gut feeling is based lower down the body and it's part of our survival instinct. I don't know, if a meteor is coming down and someone says, wait, I've got to tell you something, you don't. You instinctively run because your whole body knows that you need to run in order to survive. When you leave the house and suddenly you remember that you've left the stove on, that is instinct, survival instinct for me. I feel it lower down the body. Whereas with the heart, when it feels really expanded and open, then I know, yes, I'm connected to this, I'm passionate about it, and I will do it. Last summer, I worked at a holistic center here in Dubai. I taught what I called circles, unboxed circles, and there were different subjects: your spiritual self, your psychic self, your intuition, your tarot, etc. But the manager kind of spoke to me about an opportunity where I can go and do a guided meditation to do with manifestation. It was supposedly a very famous chain of spas, and they just wanted someone just to lead the meditation, do nothing else. The more she tried to sell it to me, the more really I didn't feel anything. And in the end, I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't feel connected. I feel nothing in my heart. And that was it. I didn't kind of debate the decision, no matter how, monetary-wise, it was well worth it. My heart wasn't in it, and that's truly the expression. Barbara Brennan, the late scientist and healer, said that the heart is the cauldron of emotions. This is where our ego-based personality integrates with our spiritual or eternal self, if you like. So we've got different things happening, different dimensions, and this is where we connect, if you will, with our, what is called as higher self, or I want to call it our wiser self, the self that is inspired, guided by your own wisdom and your own intuition. It really does all start with the heart. And this is why I carry that memory of my father, and when his heart is open, really throughout my days. And that is what helps me to navigate, as a compass, my life's journey. The heart can surpass the intellect, so it's not based on your belief system. I often tell my clients, lose your brain and think with your heart, or feel with your heart, rather. When the heart feels expanded, then it's the right thing, the right proposal, the right opportunity, the right business partner, the right romantic partner, and so on. Yet, there's another aspect to consider here: the danger of sharing too much. I often call our emotions as our emotional blueprint. We are here to experience life in a physical body, which is governed by our hormones. So a lot of our emotional reactions are really chemical hormonal reactions. So when you share an emotional experience because you feel down, depressed, or traumatized, you are really sharing your blueprint. Because the way you react or respond to what happens in life, that is what dictates your self-growth. So when we share something emotional, perhaps we're giving too much of ourselves. Not all experiences should be shared, in my opinion. At least not with people who are not a professional. Some are integral to our growth, and divulging them can lead to undesirable consequences. The dynamics of a relationship might change. You and your friend might evolve in different ways. And after a while, you might regret what you've shared with them 10, 20, 15 years ago. Trusting someone with your innermost thoughts can be risky. Yet, when relationships change and the dynamics shift over time, shared experiences can cause unnecessary complications. You might not be friends anymore. They might go down a different life and path, and then you might feel betrayed that they have divulged a secret you've entrusted them with decades ago. Trusting that our confidants won't use our vulnerabilities against us is really essential. Yet, as I said, when the dynamics change and people change, divulging those secrets later on might reopen old wounds and cause you further heartache. So be careful with your emotions and who you share them with. My best advice to you is to share your own feelings on paper. Start a journal, a personal journal where you really gush it all out on paper. You'll feel better, and then read it a week later or so, or even a month later, and you will discover your own wisdom among those lines that you've written to yourself. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I'd love to know what you think. Remember, our loved ones might mean very well, but their advice may not necessarily serve our best interest. Trust your own intuition, guard your emotional blueprint, and then you can navigate life with clarity and confidence. And that is part of self-mastery. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about how my own intuition developed. Really, it just unfolded. I never asked for it, but it happened, and I'd like to share that with you. See you next Tuesday. This is Sahar Huneidi signing off and wishing you a wonderful week ahead.